Electricast. By the time I hit my 50s, I'd learned a few things, like how family is precious. Work can always wait. And 99% of people over 50 already have the virus that causes shingles. Not everyone at risk will develop it, but I did. The painful, blistering rash disrupted my life for weeks. Don't learn about your shingles risk the hard way. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today. Sponsored by GSK.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Black Friday deals are going on all month long. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. Hello, and welcome to Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and today we're talking with Lori Pappas. Lori survived a traumatic childhood and learned to leverage the power of self-reflection to redefine her core beliefs and chart her own course. Lady Luck smiled on Lori in her 40s, and she became a national award-winning successful entrepreneur who mentored hundreds of employees and thousands of customers. After failing retirement in her 50s, she escaped her second unsatisfying marriage by moving to Africa and founding a charity. It helped over 100,000 highly marginalized people through initiatives in water, hygiene and sanitation, functional adult literacy, reproductive health, women empowerment, environment, and orphans and vulnerable children. Lori, I am so excited to have you join me today and to dig into your story. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Leslie. I've really been looking forward to it.
Me too, because when we first talked a little while ago, I was really interested in, what we're going to talk about today. And you touched on some of that. And I thought this would be such a great and powerful story for our listeners, especially those who might be thinking like, well, I don't have a story, or who would care about like these types of things that I've done. I'm just this little person that's not really much significance. But I feel like having women like yourself on the podcast to show that no matter what, your story really actually can really change lives, just even by the smallest of things. And even, again, you had a couple of marriages that didn't work out, and you still found a way to empower yourself, which is kind of hard at times, to go out and do something really brave and wonderful. And we're going to talk about that today. Your story includes 3 powerful career chapters of business, humanitarian work, and now author and mentor. And you shared with me that even during your most successful years in business, that you weren't at peace. So can you take us back to that first chapter of your life? Like, what was life like for you during that time? And what began to shift your perspective?
Well, that first, I felt early on in my career that I realized that I was the person responsible for my life. I didn't have a real happy childhood, but what it did was my childhood taught me to take responsibility for whatever it was that I was going to do and whatever it was I was going to be. So I am a natural high achiever. But, Leslie, high achievement comes with a price. It really does. To really achieve, one needs a lot of laser focus, and especially when you're younger and you really don't have that whole perspective that we gain as we get older, as far as the various aspects that don't have to do with making money or being super mom or doing all you're supposed to's really adds so much value to your life. And so I would say my cost of high achievement really was that I was numbed out and I was emotionally unavailable. And what caused the shift for me was my son had a traumatic brain injury, had a horrible accident, and he became addicted to drugs. And while he was in the rehab center, they had a family week. And during the family week, I realized that, oh my God, I'm an enabler. And I was so excited to learn that because that meant that I had a behavior that could change and I can control my behavior. So I could learn different behaviors. I could learn to become emotionally available. And that's what I set out to do. So you never know when those shifts come. It's really a matter, though, of paying attention, you know, paying attention to what's going on. But that was my lesson with high achievement was I was numb. I was emotionally unavailable, but man, I made money, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to have a follow up to that because I love that you brought that up because I'm a high achiever as well. And I often find myself kind of getting into the doing of things full speed ahead and not even paying attention. I understand that I need to take care of myself, but there are times when I actually get reminded because I do fall back into old patterns because I'm just human and I have to understand that it's a human trait that I have. So with high achievers, women being high achievers, what do you think we often miss when we're running full speed ahead towards success?
We forget to pause. We absolutely forget to pause. And the only way we're going to pivot or that we're going to bring in new information that enriches our behavior and our well-being, you have to pause because you've got to be able to have time to reflect. And if you don't reflect, any of that information you gain really doesn't benefit you as a being because you haven't been able to pause and take it in and recognize it. The magic really is that pause and that reflection. And then that's when you're able to start turning your struggles and your challenges into the keys to find your wisdom. We'll get into that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is I also believe that when we take the time to pause and reflect, it allows us to anchor those things in because we live in a world where everyone talks about checklists and to-do lists and getting things checked off, marked off for the day. What are my tasks for today? And did I get them all done? And did I get everything done all week? And we forget when we actually accomplish something, no matter how small it is, we don't celebrate that moment. Even just the smallest of things can be celebrated. But I think we just live in that world, that mindset, just keep doing, check it done, and move on to the next task. And I think that's where I've found, I've learned obviously over the years, but in the very beginning, I found that I was doing that and then forgetting how I got through into for example, maybe being able to go on video and not be afraid to be seen because, going live on Facebook, I did that for like a whole year and forgetting, not taking the time to actually say, you know what, I did that. I was given a challenge and I did that. But if I didn't take time to actually celebrate even just that small thing, now it was kind of big, but it was at the time, for me, just felt like, oh, who would want to listen to me? Who would want to, like, what do I talk about? And then I realized, okay, it's not just about that. I have to also be able to celebrate the fact that I got up the courage to do it. And I love, that you brought just the idea of pausing and reflecting, because I think that is so important and we forget it. And then we also forget the part of don't just mark it off as done and don't just move on to the next thing. You got to be able to, that's how you build your memories. That's how you build your experiences that you can look back on over, decades later when you're looking back over your life. I mean, that's how I live my life now. I want to be able to look back over my lifetime and say, oh, wow, I can't believe I did that. Or, this is an experience that if I hadn't given myself the courage to do it, even when I was so afraid to do it. And now look, I'm confident in specific areas. So I love that you brought that up, because that's important, right?
It is very important. And one of the things that you touched on but didn't pause on was that you felt discomfort. And you
Hmm.
take that discomfort and you allowed that discomfort to give you that opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
Because really what we need to do is embrace our discomfort. That's usually a sign that there's something there for us. Now, I'm not talking about when you're in a icky situation and somebody is harming you in some way or that kind of discomfort, but I'm talking about when you get that queasy feeling like, oh man, I don't know that I can do that, or who would want to listen to me, or who wants to know where I'm at, or what have you. But that discomfort is really the signal of saying, hey, a portal is open. You just need to walk through. And it's one of those pathways that is opening up to you. So discomfort is very good. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I know when you're in it, you don't feel that way, but yeah,
Right.
because, you can look past, go back and look back and say, oh, yeah, I guess that really was a growing moment for me, and that's okay. But yeah, I know I love that idea of just really thinking about that the discomfort is not a bad thing. It's really just at that time to even reflect on why you feel uncomfortable, because it's something brand new. It's something you haven't done before, or maybe something you have done before and maybe you failed at before and you're afraid to take the chance. But again, if we don't take chances with our lives, if we don't take, some of those risks that bring those great rewards, we're going to look back over our life and have regret. And that's one thing I don't want to actually have as part of my life. I don't want to actually ever regret not at least trying, at least doing something. And even if I fail at it, I don't want to be able to go back and say, oh, I wish I had have at least tried, because you never know. I don't know what would have happened if I'd tried. So anyways, moving on, I want to talk about your humanitarian work, because you went to Ethiopia for 10 years. It was deeply personal to you. So I'd love for you to take us back to that time in your life. What led you, as I know you had this time of your life where things weren't going so well, and now you're going into something else. What led you to Ethiopia and led you to the work that you did when you were in Ethiopia? And what stirred something so deeply in you that it became your next calling?
Well, it really started with me failing retirement. I mean, I sold my business when I was 49. I did a bunch of personal work. I did a lot of volunteer work. I found out that as much as I wanted to be a follower, I really suck at being a follower. I don't do that well. I always end up running everything. And I had come to a point where I was going to either work for free and give my money away, or I was going to do something big and help people, because it had always bothered me the unfairness of where people are born or the environments that people get born into. And I'm a real advocate of winning with the cards you're dealt. I talk about how we get good cards and bad cards, and how we have to make the most of it. But the bottom line is some people really get really awful ones. And I was in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and a little girl came up to me with flies on her face, and all she wanted was my water bottle. She just desperately wanted my water bottle. She wasn't begging for money. She didn't even know what money was. But if you have a water bottle, you have a chance to live. And she happened to be about the same age as my granddaughter at the time, probably about 6. And I thought, wow, that could be my little Ella. And it was really hot and there were flies, and it just struck me that I needed to do something to try to get flies off of these little kids' faces and give them a chance. And it was just coincidental I ended up in Ethiopia. Turned out that the small NGO, non-government organization that I I studied and became real familiar with had a program that went into Ethiopia that they wanted me to analyze. And I went in, I was down in the southwestern part of Ethiopia and the most marginalized tribes you can imagine. If you take National Geographic or you've looked through National Geographic and you see these people that have dressed or undressed fairly exotically, that's the people that I worked with. And I remember when I was doing this analysis of another organization's work, I thought, well, this is really a waste of money and it's a waste of time. But then I thought, all right, so what would you do? What could you do? How could you make a difference and give people a chance for a healthy life? And by me asking that question, that's all it took. I had to figure it out. So that's what I spent the next 10 years doing. And that's why we implemented so many programs, because I really wanted to figure out how do you give people even a chance to have a life?
I was just thinking, like, you took me back to that experience, even though I wasn't there with you. I could just picture what you're experiencing. And it's like, it's a humbling moment, especially when you come from, we take for granted the things that we have here: running water, bathrooms, being able to shower, wash our hands daily, brush our teeth, all of the things that become just a normal day to day life for us. We often can take for granted. When you go to places like that, you're reminded that not everybody has access. So I love the fact that you asked yourself, like, what can I do? What would I do? What can I do? How do I do that? And you spent 10 years of your life really pouring into that. And I'm sure that with that season of service that it's taught you a lot. So my question really to follow up with that is, what, with that season of life, what did you learn about resilience, surrender, and leading from the heart?
I'm glad you asked that because when I was over there, my the most of my employees, I ended up with probably about 50 employees over there. And the majority of them were in the field, but my management team worked up in Addis Ababa, the capital, because we needed internet and resources and so forth. And I would spend my days being they were I tried to explain how frustrating they were when you have a hard time communicating, you're being harassed by the government, the computer doesn't work, the printer doesn't work, dust is all over, it's hot, there's no such thing as air conditioning, and then I'd finally get home, and I'd be all ready to sit down and have a glass of wine, and electricity would be out. And I would be stuck with I'd have 3 little candles, and I didn't have enough light to read. So I was forced to think. And I thought back on meeting that little girl in the Sahara Desert. I thought back on the struggles and the challenges I had faced as a child, about the struggles that my children were facing and their challenges. And I realized that those struggles and challenges are really the keys to finding our wisdom. Those struggles and challenges give us so much information. And you know what? We survive. We do survive them. That means we are resilient. We have the pattern of surviving. We can overcome. We can make, I hate using the cliche lemonade from lemons, but well, however that goes, but it really
Hmm.
is true in the fact that we can take something that really might have been a horribly difficult thing to overcome, but because we did overcome that, that really tells us a lot about ourselves. And so when I think back during that time, that's really when I learned to harvest my wisdom and to become comfortable. And it was a process, but to become comfortable with who I am not just what I'm able to do. And this goes back to what you were talking about in the beginning, Leslie, about the doing. And so as I transitioned into my third career, now as far as being an author and mentor, it really is all about being. It's not my doing. It's all about what do I know to be. And that to me is the greatest gift I've ever had. I mean, I get so much joy when hear somebody or readers will tell me or listeners will write in and say, "My gosh, that really helped me out." And I love that. I mean, that to me, that's just it's almost as good as putting a well in, and so 30,000 people get water. I mean, it's really wonderful. It makes me feel fantastic.
Yeah, I think that that's like that gratitude moment. I think a lot of people don't recognize like truly how gratitude can be such a powerful tool. For example, I worked with someone and she lives in South Africa, her and her family. And I remember talking to her about gratitude and she was like, I don't know this gratitude. Like I had to talk to her about gratitude and how to use it for her so that she could find ways to actually start loving her life and loving herself. That was part of the process that we went through. And I remember when she started to get like gratitude, it became it just opened up her eyes to all of what was going on around her that was things that she was taking for granted, even because a lot of the time we can be in those moments where we don't feel good about our lives and we take for granted all of the things that are, because we're focusing on the negative. And so when I was saying just find those little pockets of moments of gratitude that, even in the darkest times, we can find something to be grateful for. Because again, you had three candles, even though you didn't have electricity. You could have been sitting completely in the dark, right? Someone might just look at that and say, "Oh, I had no electricity and it was just awful." But you found a way to, I had three candles. It's just our perception and what we allow ourselves to focus on, which is, I think, so important because so many of us are looking at things in a way where it's always like, why is this happening to me? Rather than, what I liked what you were saying, what do I have? What do I know to be? Instead of like, well, what's going to make me happy? What can I do? What can I achieve? What can I get that will make me happy? So, yeah, I love that you talked about that. It's inspiring to me to be connected to you because I love the fact that, it was all about helping. And when you saw that well being built and once it was finished, and then I'm sure like just the joy for the people that it was going to serve, but the joy of them now looking to you and you're like, you know, I was able to be a part of this and being able to share in that. You can look back that and you're teaching not only your children, but your grandchildren. Like this is what gratitude can bring. At least that's my take on it, you know?
It's We have so much to be grateful for. We have
Mhm.
so much to be grateful for. And I think the one thing I would add in here is that what every single one of us has is we all have the ability to make a choice. We all have choice. We can look at something and we can see A or we can see B. We can experience something and we can say it's, C or it's D. We all have choice. And what a wonderful gift to be born with.
Mhm.
Every single one of us have a choice of how we're going to deal with whatever it is that we're dealing with, or whatever it is we have or we don't have, or what have you. It's a wonderful gift that we're born with. And we all have the ability to be curious if we're just willing to open up our eyes.
Mhm.
And, when you were talking about being happy to work through the discomfort or to take on new things, quite frankly, if you didn't, you'd be really boring. I mean, talk about, I mean, who are the people that you really don't enjoy always being around? It's people that don't do anything. And I'm not saying you've got to go to Africa, but I'm saying, well, maybe you walk to the store on a different street, or one of the things that my husband and I do is we love to, well, particularly Bill, because Bill is disabled and he's in a wheelchair. And so oftentimes people think that people that are disabled don't have a mind anymore or whatever because they're sitting in a wheelchair. So when we're walking through an airport and I'm pushing him along, he smiles at everyone and he counts how many people he can get to smile back. And it's a game. It's just fun for him to see how can he lighten up somebody's day as he's sitting there in the wheelchair being pushed by his wife. How many people can he get to smile? I mean, every single one of us can do that.
Yeah,
Every single
exactly.
one of us can bring joy to other people. And when we bring joy to others, man, we are bringing so much joy to ourselves. We receive so much.
Yeah.
So that's really why I like to focus on my dream framework that I've got in my book and that I talk a lot about. And that really is that it's a matter of, and I'm not talking about fluffy dreams. I'm talking about dreams where D is for desire. And you say, well, what is it that I need? What is it that I want? And then R is the reflect. Well, what do you know? What do you already know? And then E is explore. And talk about explore. We have got such a phenomenal opportunity to explore nowadays with internet. I mean, there's just everything is literally at our fingertips. And A is to acknowledge. Acknowledge everything you've been through. And also that it's really good to make mistakes. Because if you're making mistakes, you're trying something new. And then M is the mantra. What is it that can just kind of be your buddy on your journey, your song or your saying or your mantra? So that's the way that you can really transform your life and access that wisdom that you have inside you and access that inner peace.
Oh, I love that. Well, talking about your book is titled The Magic of Yes, and it's a powerful concept because I truly believe that our yes is so important. Our no is just as important as our yes, but I think a lot of the time we're not recognizing how we're saying yes, what we're saying yes to, what we're trading for the yes. So, what does saying yes really mean to you? And what kind of yes leads to true peace, not more pressure?
What yes means to me, or what what I mean by yes is I'm saying yes to being open-minded. I'm saying yes to pausing and reflecting. And I'm saying yes to seeking more knowledge. All that ends up being is saying yes to myself because it enriches me just beyond imagination. So it's yes to open mindedness, yes to reflection, yes to knowledge.
Yeah, I think that's important because a lot of the time, we're looking externally for approval, for the right move, for how our life should look. And I started realizing that either I can conform, which is I don't want to be like everybody else, but I could conform and go along with the masses and lead a okay, maybe life. But then maybe down the road, I would be regretting all of the things that I could have done, but I didn't take the chance because I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to step outside, have people judge me. But, I've told you, we've talked about this before we started recording today. And I have been living here in Mexico now. We've been here a year, just a little over a year. And for me, the first time when I got married to my husband, 6 months later, we moved from Canada down to the US and I left everything behind, everything that I was used to. I could have been the person that dug in the heels and said, nope, I'm not doing that. All of my family, all my friends are here. But I realized that if I'm saying no to the possibility of life, I don't know what I'm going to regret down the road. Like I just intuitively knew that saying yes, as scary as it was the best move for me. And it wasn't always easy. And I'm sure it wasn't always easy for you, the things that you said yes to, but you now have like this vault, this incredible vault full of memories that you get to share with your family, with your friends, with new people, and enrich their lives, which can then maybe spark something in them, even your grandchildren, to go out and explore, to go out and do great things. Because it shouldn't be all about us, about what's in it for me. You should hear that, me, myself, and I. What's in it for me? What do I get out of it? Rather than what can I give? Because you give, you get so much more back, and people don't realize that. That's why I was talking about gratitude, because I know that you get so much back. The more you give, you get so much back. And it's, for me at least, it's come true in that respect. The more I give, the more I get back. And so I wanted to touch on that because I realized that being open-minded is what I think allows you to be open to possibilities, even being open to the possibilities that other people suggest to you that you might at first, say no way, but explore it. And then, as you were saying, like, think about it. Like, is it a desire? Reflect on it. Even if it's an opportunity that comes from someone else, reflect on it, explore it, maybe because it is something, and then acknowledge the fact that you actually took the time, as you were saying, to explore something, and then going from there. So that I was taking part of that from your dream, but I love that analogy as well. So I want to talk about your beautiful community. It's called the Wise Woman's Sisterhood, and this is where you help women feel seen and connected again. What's one message you'd want every woman who's listening to remember about her own voice and why now is the time to share it?
Well, I could say something really pretty flip, like, well, the men haven't done that great of a job, so why don't we, step into the light and take our turn at it? And quite frankly, I think we women are really set up so well to be leaders and to have a voice because of the way our minds are wired. We are born to be multitaskers. We do a million things at a time without thinking about it. We manage the family, we manage this, we do that, and what have you. We're constantly juggling. And it really helps us being more broadly focused. And now is the time for us to claim our voice. And the reason why I started the Wise Woman Sisterhood was that I I realized there are so many people that have so much to share, and I wanted to create a platform where people can share their wisdom, and they can share their struggles, they can share their celebrations, but a safe place for people to gather. And what's so cool about it, Leslie, is that it's been going for less than a year, and we have people from all over the world. And we have people from different walks of life that conduct our monthly little workshop that everybody can go to, and it's online. We've got a wonderful new friend of mine from Germany, and she's going to concentrate on that whole neurographic type of learning and how we can maximize a different part of our brain and our mindset and our being that a lot of us haven't thought about. And we had somebody from another area that was talking about how we can trust our gut better. And it's so fun. And it just is so invigorating to me, the cool people that I meet. I mean, what a gift to me. Talk about gratitude. I mean, I'm 76 years old and I'm in the highest learning, highest experiencing time of my life. It's fabulous.
Yeah. You're living life. Like that's the thing, is that you can be visible at any age. You can still live your life. It's like life doesn't end. It's one of the things I thought about years ago as I was entering into my mid 50s and realizing that, oh, there are people that get to this age, and it's almost like that they become invisible. And I thought, I'm not going to become invisible because I'm going to live my life. I'm going to do things. I'm going to make change. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to, have a podcast or, work with women, network with women, have a community. For me, it's really important community. And that's why I love the fact that you have a community, because I feel we can help each other to go through some of our toughest times, but also we can celebrate when we've made it through them, or we can celebrate with each other when there's like incredible things to celebrate, like new babies, new marriages, new grandchildren, whatever that looks like. I love the fact that women are coming together so much more now than when I was, even like my generation growing up. I didn't feel that. I felt like women talked it, but they didn't really live it. Like they said they wanted to support each other, but when it really came down to it, I didn't really feel that they were living in that truth. And I'm starting to feel that it's more so today, which is why I love that you have this community that's, as you were saying, women from around the world coming together, love the internet to be able to do that, and being able to support each other, teach each other, learn from each other, and, be on this journey together, even if you're not in the same backyard, even if you're not from the same culture, even if you don't look the same. That's what I love about what you're building. And I think that is really incredible. I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, thank you so much. And I really encourage our listeners to check it out. I mean, everything is, I'm sure you'll post in the show notes. All the connections go right through my website, and it's the Wise Woman Sisterhood. And we just welcome people. It's so fun. And it's so surprising. And the other day, literally, true story, I got a request, somebody that was wanting to join the group, and I couldn't read the name even. I didn't even know what alphabet it was in, but good old Google Translator, helped me out a little bit. And so now we've got posts that are coming in that you can hit the translate button, and you're learning what other languages look like, what other cultures are like. I mean, my God, and it's all just right in your computer. It's very fun. Very fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Well, final question. For the woman who is listening, entering a new season of life, whether she's approaching midlife, she's navigating change, whatever that looks like for her, or she's simply sensing that it's time for something different. She feels that desire and she's not sure. And I know you talked about that you have something in your book that can help. What's a question that she can ask herself today that can help her reconnect with what matters most and trust what's next?
Well, I'm going to say the dream again. I really am. And it's really, and let me just go through it real quickly again. It's not your fluffy dream. It's the D is desire. What is it you need or want? You need to be able to articulate. And you know what? You can change your mind. This is not something that's written in concrete. This is just what you feel today. What is it that you need? What is it you want? So then let's work on how you get it. You get it through reflection. What do you know? Explore. What else do you need to know? Acknowledge that you're going to make some mistakes. That's good. That's really good. It's good to make mistakes. And a mantra. What little saying can you have that's going to help soothe your way? And, I've got some people, their mantra is, today's the best day of my life. That's their mantra. And every day they work at, I'm going to enjoy today. I'm not having PMS, I'm having PMA. I'm having a positive mental attitude today. That's what my choice is. And, it doesn't have to be some highfalutin thing. It's just, hey, this is the thought I'm going to keep in my head today. And you'll find so much more peace. And all of a sudden, you'll start noticing some unexpected delights, and you'll start feeling some more joy. But what it means is really you're living each day in the moment. You're meeting the day fully. You're trying to meet the day with ease. And you've got purpose. It's all about that mindfulness, intentional dream.
Yeah, I love that. Lori, thank you so very much for spending time with me today and sharing your journey. I loved your journey because it just goes to show that even in the midst of feeling like, there's this major life event for you, you were able to still then say, you know what? I'm going to go and do something different. You've actually, I believe, changed the world for a better place. So I love the fact that you did that, with your decade of work in the humanitarian space. And now you have a powerful message behind the magic of yes and your beautiful community, Wise Women Sisterhood. It has really been a pleasure learning and hearing from you how each chapter of your life has deepened your sense of purpose and how you are now helping women reconnect with their voice, their wisdom, and the next season that's calling them forward. So, Lori, thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing from such an open and authentic place.
Oh, thank you, Leslie. And thank you for having this and putting so much thought into this. I mean, just so the listeners know, this is not just an ordinary podcast host. This is somebody that is truly doing her work with intention and with design. She's walking her talk, and it shows. It's just been a delight. Thank you, Leslie.
Oh my gosh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And I receive those words with grace. And to our listeners, if you would like to connect with Lori directly to learn more about her book, The Magic of Yes, and The Wise Woman's Sisterhood, you can find her contact information in the show notes. Remember, saying yes to what matters most isn't just a decision. It's a return to your peace, your power, and your presence. Because the right yes doesn't come from pressure, guilt, or proving. It comes from alignment. And when you choose from that place, your life begins to reflect what's true for you, not what's expected of you. Whether it's a new season, a quiet calling, or a bold next step, honoring your yes is how you create a life that feels not only purposeful, but peaceful. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
Five years ago, I mentioned this Icelandic lost version of Dracula. Whatever happened with that?
It sent me down the biggest rabbit hole of my personal and professional life. Find out more in the new podcast, The Powers of Darkness from Or Whatever Movies.
Coming October 2025.
Hey everybody, Diego here from the Candle Power Hour and Candle Power Records. Together with Electrocast Records, we proudly present Imperial Highway, a California sampler. 15 singles tracked by artists all based in California. Every song on Imperial Highway is mastered to deliver. Rock and roll is back, and we got what you want. If you're craving new music, Imperial Highway hits the spot. Download Imperial Highway. Check us out at candlepowerrecords.com and listen to the Candle Power Hour on Electrocast.